Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Beyond the Cage podcast presented by Fight Chicks. I am your host, Jim Graham. Alongside me is my co-host, the Juice, Dave Sadler. On the line, we have a special guest joining us. She will be making her UFC debut at UFC Fight Night Austin on the 22nd of November against Curran. She is Miss Paige Van Zant. And Paige, thanks for coming on Beyond the Cage.
Thanks for having me.
So, of course, we're in November here for 2014, close to the end of the year, but how has your 2014 been, Paige?
You know, it's been really crazy there's been a lot of new news going on, a lot of really exciting things happening, and I'm super pumped to finally actually get another fight in and be able to fight for the UFC here coming up.
Now, of course, Halloween was a couple weeks ago, and I was wondering, did you dress up and go out for Halloween?
Yeah, I definitely did. Well, didn't go out too much, just went bowling, but I did.
What was your costume?
I was ketchup and mustard.
That is definitely...
Yeah, me and one of my friends were ketchup and mustard, so that was pretty fun.
That's fun. That I didn't think that was going to be the answer that you were going to give, but that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So were you the whole, bottle, or were you wearing, a bodysuit, or what did this costume look like?
The whole bottle. It was the whole bottle.
That's awesome.
Now, was someone else in your group, were they, hamburger buns and a hamburger, or?
No, but every time we ran into someone that was in, a hot dog or hamburger costume, we'd run up to them and say hi.
Well, that's great. Well, right after your fight, Thanksgiving will be happening on the 27th. And are you excited for Thanksgiving?
Oh, I'm super excited. I'm going to end up going to Oregon to see some family.
Sweet. Paige, as most fans know, you were supposed to be on this season of Tough. Obviously, you're not, but I got to assume you have been watching this season pretty closely.
Yeah, I have been watching it. It's been pretty exciting.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I can't turn away from it, so it's good stuff. Had you been on the show, would you have preferred one of the coaches over the other, Pettis or Melendez?
I can't really tell too much of the coaching style from watching it right now. And again, in 6 weeks, you're not really going to change the type of fighter you are. You're not going to adapt too much. So, I think I would have loved being on either of their teams. They seem like they're both doing a really good job with the girls.
Do you think for the girls that are on there, like you said, 6 weeks isn't that long of a time. Is this kind of just, when they're on the show, just kind of pick and choose things that you think you can implement in your game instead of listening to, wide sweeping changes, just add little bits at a time?
I think so, and it's a really good time to just focus on perfecting your skills and training really, really hard, getting in great shape for all the fights that you have to go through if you do fight multiple times in the house. I don't think you're not gonna change the way you fight 100%, but you will be able to adapt to new skills and really perfect what you want to work on.
Well, like you said, you have been watching it pretty close. Who's impressed you thus far with almost all the quarterfinals done? Who's impressed you the most?
So far I would say Rose did a really good job in her fight. I was pretty impressed with the way she performed. Carla, as far as everyone knows, her wrestling's pretty good. She did really good in her fight as well. So I'd have to say those two so far.
Yeah, Rose was my, I think Jim has it written down. I picked her as my sleeper all the way back at the beginning, I think. I hope I'm right, because I always like to beat Jim, but I guess we'll have to find out.
You are correct in that, Dave.
Yeah. So do you have a pick? Who do you think might win the show, Paige?
Oh gosh, I don't know right now. I would say Carla or Rose. So I see them. That's just my guess. I see them going to them facing off for the belt. That
would be a good fight. Now, going back through your record, seeing you did fight in Invicta, I wanted to know, have you seen any of the recent Invictas that have been on the UFC Fight Pass?
You know, I haven't been able to watch them too much. I've been really focused on just getting 100% for this fight.
Right. Do you, excuse me, just getting over a little cough here.
Oh, no.
What do you think about Invicta not being kind of on that pay-per-view model anymore, where it's kind of, for lack of a better term, they're teammates with the UFC? So what do you kind of think of that partnership and how it works out for women's MMA?
Oh, I think that's honestly a really, really smart idea. I think it's going to be really good for women's MMA. We're still kind of in the beginning of women's MMA. We haven't seen it to like take off to the full extent that I think it's going to. So I think that's a great avenue for girls to be closely watched by the UFC, and then we can see real talent coming out of Invicta.
Jim Graham and Dave Sadler talking with Paige Van Zant here on Beyond the Cage, presented by Fight Chicks. And Paige, looking back at your record, your first pro fight in 2012, and just 2 years later, you're now fighting in the UFC. When you started this whole thing, did you think that just 2 years after your first pro fight, you would be in the UFC?
No, I didn't see it happening that fast. I knew I would make it to the UFC eventually. I'm just fortunate that it happened this quickly in my career.
Now, your last fight was all the way back in April of last year, and now that you've had a fight finally booked and it's almost there, does it feel good to finally kind of be in that whole process of getting into a fight camp and approaching fight week and all that?
Oh yeah, I always stayed in the gym, but it's nice to have something to really, really look forward to and train hard for. Whereas just kind of like keeping your fingers crossed, hoping you have something coming up, it's a little harder to stay dedicated. But when you have a fight on the books, it's really easy to just maintain focus in the gym. So it's very nice. I'm really excited that I finally get to fight again.
Now, in that kind of break period before this fight, was there anything that you got to work on in your game that you thought maybe kind of had been lacking?
No, I pretty much focused on everything. I would say I'm very well-rounded as a fighter. I started in MMA. I didn't necessarily have a background in anything. I just started straight into MMA. So I've really been focusing on perfecting each little piece. I've had a lot of time to work technique. So I'm really excited to show everything I have learned in this last year.
Now, of course, the weigh-ins for the event are a little over a week away, but how is your weight doing just a week out from that?
Oh, doing great. The weight cut doesn't, obviously it's not fun to cut weight, but I'm fine. It's doable.
Jim, has anybody ever answered that question with, yeah, I'm really looking forward to cutting weight?
No one has answered say they look forward to cut weight, but I'm always just interested to see how much preparation and work and how much weight each fighter cuts, because one of the more shocking ones was when we interviewed Cowboy Cerrone, and he said he was still 175 pounds 2 days before the weigh-ins, which I thought was a lot, considering some of the other ones. So I'm always just curious where everybody's at. So,
just for the record, I don't think Paige is at 175.
No, I don't think so.
No. Not quite.
Now, of course, your opponent at the UFC Fight Night there in Austin is Kaylin Curran, and what can you tell us about her, Paige?
You know, I've watched all of her fights. She seems very aggressive in her style. I think that's pretty much all she's got going for her. She is very aggressive. So I don't know, I'm just really excited for this fight. I think she's going to be a really good first opponent for me. For finally getting a fight again, and I think it's going to be a really good fight. I just don't see her having the technique that I have gained over this year.
Now, what will you have to do against Kaylin to be successful in that fight?
I just need to go out there, and do what I do every day at the gym. I know I have the skills to beat her, and I just have to be on point on fight day.
Now, of course, the main event of your fight there in Austin is Frankie Edgar against Cub Swanson, with the winner potentially getting a shot at the title in the featherweight division. And I was wondering if you had a pick for either of those two guys.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm very excited for that fight. I think it's going to be a great fight, but pretty much I'm mainly focused on all the girls in my division and just. I'm really excited for the fight, but I really don't know who I would pick for the win on that one.
All right, Paige, one last question and we'll get you out of here. I always try to ask fighters when they come on, is there anybody in the UFC, Bellator, any other brands, when they have a fight scheduled that you have to sit down and watch their fight? I mean, is there a special couple of people that are around that you can't miss their fight?
I mean, whenever any of my teammates fight, I have to watch, obviously. But other than that, I don't have anyone specific out there that I just love to watch.
Fair enough.
All right, she is Paige Van Zant. She will be fighting Kaylin Curran on the 22nd of November for the undercard of UFC Fight Night Austin. You can follow her on Twitter. It's just her name, at Paige Van Zant. And Paige, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it and wish you the best of luck against Kaylin on the 22nd.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Once again, that was Paige Van Zant right here on Beyond the Cage, presented by Fight Chicks.